Hey, this is Bethany from the VHCC Sim Lab, and today we're going to talk about programming a propofol drip, and specifically we're going to be working with the Alaris pumps. And these are actually the pumps that are used by Wellmont Health Systems, so if you have clinicals there, then this will give you a chance to work with them a little bit. For your actual simulation, your pump will already be primed and loaded and running. But I want to walk you through how to load that and how to program in a medication to it just really briefly. And then we'll talk about what you need to be focused on for your actual simulation. So first of all, of course, we'll have our medication primed here. And you'll find that this pump, even though it's a lot bigger than the Baxter pumps, it's very similar in how you'll program it. You'll just open up the door here. And if you don't have it loaded in correctly, it won't let you close the door. And anytime you want to work with this medication, you have to choose which channel you work on. So you may see in your clinical setting that there may be several channels on each side. And this is a PCA channel, but we won't be using that today. But you may have an A channel, a B channel, C, and D. So anytime you want to work with that specific medication, you always have to check on channel select. And that'll help you pick out which one you're going to be working with. So we want to program in propofol. So we'll choose IV or gargle drugs here. And then it's listed alphabetically, so we're going to go to the P's. And I don't see it here, so I'm going to page down until I find propofol. Select that. We always want to look at our concentration and make sure that we're putting in the right thing. And it's even going to ask us, are we sure that this is correct, because it wants us to verify, and yes, it is. And then it gives you a little clinical advisory saying that this medication is for mechanically ventilated patients and that the tubing must be changed out every 12 hours. And all you have to do for that is click confirm. Then it has everything programmed in here except for your patient's weight. So of course you'll have to look at that based on your patient's chart, and it wants it in kilograms, not pounds. So you'll have to convert that if you just have pounds. And I'm just going to make up a weight and say 75 and click next. And since we're working with a medication like propofol, we're going to be talking about drips here. So we're looking at our micrograms per kilogram per minute, and that's how you're going to see it listed in your orders. And specifically for the patient that we're talking about is going to be Rhonda Finkelstein, and she's your acute renal failure patient for 205. And anytime you need to silence it, because it doesn't give you a whole lot of time, there is a little silence button here. So if you look at her chart content and you look at her physician orders, you'll see that her order says something like, we're going to start her propofol drip at 5 micrograms per kilogram per minute, and it may be titrated as needed to keep her sedated up to about 25 mics. So in order to start out, we're going to start with our lowest dose. And we'll program in 5. And our VTBI, just like with our other pump, is our volume to be infused. And you can put, it's a 100 milliliter bottle, so you could put 90. And it'll actually go ahead and put in your rate, so it's going to drop at 2.25 milliliters per hour. And your drip is actually set at 5 micrograms per kilogram per minute. And before I actually walk away, I want to make sure that all of my clamps are unclamped. And this little light will actually stay orange until it's for sure that it's going to run through and everything's unclamped. If there's any issues with it, then the alarm will be red and it'll beep at you too. So this is telling it's green and it's infusing. And before I walk away, I do want to make sure that I've programmed everything in the way that I want it, since propofol is such a precise drip. We want to make sure that we've got everything set the way that we had it. And if you'll look here on channel A, it does say propofol and it says 5 micrograms, and it'll switch back over. You can also check over here to make sure as it's scrolling across. And so when you come into your patient's room for your simulation, it's actually, all of this is going to be programmed in for you already. Your main goal is going to be assessing your patient and seeing if they need to be titrated more or less. If your patient is reaching for their tubes or they're under sedated in any sort of way, then how you would go over here and titrate would be to check your channel select again, because we want to work with this channel here. Go over here to your dosage, and we typically go up by 5s on the propofol. So you can program in 10, double check, make sure you put in the right thing. Press start, stand here for a minute, make sure you're seeing it here, make sure you're seeing it scroll across the screen, verifying that you've got the right drip programmed in, and then you should be good. So be sure that when you start doing all of your chart reviews and all your work at home, that you check your side effects for propofol and your criteria for being able to go up on propofol and what your assessment criteria would be for being able to titrate your propofol. And you'll find that that's going to be really helpful for you for your simulation for 205. We'll give you a chance to practice some of this when you do come in for sim day, but we do expect you to at least understand how to titrate the medication on your own. If you have any questions, just let us know in the sim lab. We'll be glad to help.